This is 8-year-old Matt. Hi, how's it going? I just want to say, before I become an actor in 30 years and become rich and famous, because that definitely will happen, I'm sent from the past to tell you about Wheels of Fury. I don't even know what that is, but I've been told that you have to watch it, because it's a good show. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully.
This is Killer Carl, and welcome to... Me and Matt here, this is Killer Kyle, and welcome to another episode of Wheels of Fury, and another installment of Look Back At.
Yes. We figure seeing as how there isn't anything going on until next weekend, we'd start the 93 series with 93's UK Rampage.
Yes. 2018, we talked about 1992,
Yes.
when they were in Munich, Germany, and we're talking about the UK when they were in the UK. Unfortunately, so I have the footage. Obviously, we watched the matches. There's at least 4 matches that, we'll talk about it anyways, just
Yeah.
because I'm not getting rid of those.
No.
But honestly, this was a really good show, and this was just after WrestleMania 9,
Yes.
and so it was like very cool to see what these guys can do. Like, you look at the tag team division,
Right.
you have at least 2 guys from the tag team, 1-on-1, and then yeah, so that's cool. Have them, I guess, go out of their element in a way.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was fun to look back at this show
Yeah.
because I think, me being 8 years old and just beginning my wrestling journey,
Right.
it was pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I do feel like something is missing. Bing! Awesome. So, yeah, let's get this fucking going, right?
Yes, sir. Beep beep cheerio.
We start off with this match. We've got, like I said, 2 tag teams and 1 member in singles competition with the other. We got Brian Knobbs of the Nasty Boys taking on
Fatu.
yes,
The Hitchhikers.
and just telling Kyle while we were watching the match that Alpha scared the shit out of me as I was a little kid.
Right.
This match took forever to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was good once it got going. Obviously, you have Fatu throwing Brian out of the ring a few times and off giving in his cheap shots, and you have a camel clutch by Fatu, and basically, yeah, Knobs took over. I think the Nasty Boys as a face take team were interesting,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Fatu ended up getting the win.
Yeah.
Joey Morella didn't see his foot on the rope, so
Joey Morella didn't see his foot on the rope, and foot grabbed onto his foot from the outside.
So, I mean, this was an okay match as a start. So, I don't know. I just feel like it was lackluster. I mean, the following match will be a lot better.
We've got Doink the Clown versus the Ugandan Giant Kamala. Yeah.
And to talk about another wrestler that scared the shit out of me. This would have been an interesting match for some reason, and it wasn't on the card, or it wasn't on the show rather. So, I mean, you look at two guys with unique gimmicks. I mean, Kamala was, in a way, and this is going to come out wrong, but in my opinion, he was like a stereotypical, well, the same way that he was like a black George Animal Steel.
You could say that. I mean, they did take the Kamala character into a completely different direction, being that he was from Uganda, and he, had the face paint, the stars painted on his chest, and the moon on his stomach, and of course, Kamala wasn't quite as hairy as George was.
No.
But there are some similarities between the two characters, you could say.
Yeah. I do believe Kamala won in this fight.
Probably, yeah.
So. Head Shrinker, Samu versus one Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
And now it's a backstage interview. We have Mr. Perfect and Lord Alfred Hayes. And he's like, yeah, coming off of WrestleMania 9, I still have my beef with Lex Luger. I'm gonna get him later on, but right now, let's talk about this match, and it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, he brought up the fact that Samu is a tag team wrestler.
Yes.
And he will have Mr. Perfect 101. So.
Yeah.
And I will say this match was a lot more fast-paced
Yeah.
than the first match. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of hip tosses, and you have kicks, and, there was a lot of, they missed, contact going against the ropes, and basically Kurt got him with a crossbody. But
Yeah.
actually, I think it was this match where Samu has thrown Kurt out of the ring a few times. But yeah, Mr. Perfect ended up getting the win. So
Yeah.
I had seen the card for this show, and it almost seemed like, I'm not sure if Jerry Sags was injured.
Yeah, not sure.
So it would have been cool to see two Nasty Boys, or the Nasty Boys, in one-on-one matches with the Head Shrinkers, but
Yeah.
who knows? It was a good match nonetheless. And again, Mr. Perfect is one of the best wrestlers of the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he always had really good matches. It didn't matter who it was against, and then, having the vignettes of, him playing horseshoes, him shooting pool, him playing baseball, him throwing the football and then running after it to catch it, him doing laps in a pool, him whatever else.
Yeah.
You know, that was just how good he was. Although I remember hearing a story of, you know, they would rehearse these vignettes and it would be like, okay, Kurt, we're gonna go over what you're gonna say, and then, you know, you're gonna do whatever. So let's say he's gonna say a few lines and then break the billiard balls and have them all go into each individual pocket, or sink the 8-ball in the corner pocket, let's say. And, you know, he would say the lines, pot the 8-ball in the corner pocket, and then when they would turn on the camera, he would say his lines, but then when it came to, you know, making a shot, let's say, he would always miss. So what they had to do was they would go, okay, Kurt, we're gonna practice, you know, we're gonna go over what you're gonna say, what you're gonna do, and, you know, okay, ready to go, and then turn on the camera without him knowing they turned on the camera. And so he's thinking, oh, we're just gonna go over the lines, and then, you know, whatever it was he was doing for whatever vignette. And then, you know, they would, okay, good, Kurt, that was good. Now we're gonna, you know, shoot it, alright, you ready? And whatever. But, because when it came time to, you know, actually film the vignette or whatever, for some reason, he, I don't know, got nervous or whatever, and he missed the shot or whatever, so they had to secretly record him doing whatever it would have been for the vignette, so that they could get that shot on the, you know, get it on the first attempt and not have to, like, you know, do multiple takes or whatever.
Yeah. Anyways. Now we have this match. We've got Bob Backlund versus Damien Demento.
Yeah.
And yeah, Damien didn't last very long in WWE.
No.
Which is kind of a shame because I honestly don't know what his gimmick was, but he wasn't that bad.
No.
I mean, obviously Bob Backlund, a legend in the business.
Yeah.
Intercontinental champion, WWE champion. You know, we talked about him before. One of those guys that lives really old school.
Yeah.
You know, electricity and wow. Anyways.
Yeah.
I think Bob went over.
Probably.
I mean, I'll check this out, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I tried. I really did.
Yeah. Typhoon versus Brooklyn Brawler.
Yep.
This would have been an interesting match.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler, just like Barry Horowitz, was one of those guys that was a jobber, but really popular in WWF. I mean, Steve Lombardi also did Knuckleball Schwartz, and
Yep.
I think he was one of the Doinks.
I think so, yeah.
You know, Fred Ottoman. Obviously, Typhoon, Tugboat before that.
Yep.
Funny enough, I don't remember him as Tugboat
Yeah.
until I saw cards from him and read him in the magazines, and it's like, that's fucking Typhoon.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I mean, again, I think the natural disasters, along with Earthquake, one of the best take teams in the 90s, in my opinion. They had that look like no other.
Yeah.
I thought, well, shit, a big guy like me looking at these two guys. I mean, I was 8 years old, but still, I wasn't that big at the time.
No.
But looking at those guys, like, fuck. Anyways, I'm assuming that Typhoon won.
Well,
Again, I will fucking look at this. So,
Most likely.
yeah. A match for the Intercontinental title. We've got Corner Crush, yes. I always knew him as Crush, but it said Corner Crush on the card.
Okay.
Versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you've watched our video for wrestlers who should have been a WWF or Intercontinental Champion at one point, Brian Adams was one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, look at a guy that was a tag team champion when he was in Demolition, but, you know, regardless, never holding a singles title in WWE,
Right.
which is a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, go to other companies that he was in, and yeah, he helped Gold there.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, he should have gotten that Intercontinental title at one point.
At
Sean
least.
was doing Sean things and didn't want to get rid of the title and keep it for himself. Regardless, whatever the whole situation was, yeah, Sean won the match. It's kind of unfortunate too because you know, going off of WrestleMania 9,
Yeah.
having won against Tatanka, it was like Tatanka was another one that should have been the Intercontinental Champion. It would have made a lot of fucking sense. There's two guys that could have been the Intercontinental Champion, but no, we couldn't do that. Because Shawn Michaels had to be Shawn Michaels and say, no, I'm not gonna win, I'm gonna keep the belt for myself. And that was fucking bullshit. Because you could have had Crush go over and then have the match, a rematch, and have Shawn win the belt back. That would have made sense, but no, we couldn't do that. We could give the belt to Marty Jannetty, but no, couldn't give the belt to Shawn or Tatanka. Tatanka especially. Once again, here's a guy that represented, and he was a Native American.
Yes.
Right? So it was almost, it made sense. Unfortunately, Tatanka never won gold at WWE.
No.
You know, and it's just one of those things where it's like, the unfortunate part for Brian is that he passed away,
Yeah.
and we're always going to imagine what it would have been like, him holding the WWE Intercontinental title.
Yeah. Were you talking about Crossface and Tatanka WrestleMania 9?
No.
Oh, okay. Just making, because that's what it seemed like. No. Crossface.
No, it wasn't. No, I knew it was Shawn and Tatanka. Sorry if I made it sound like that.
It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Wait, that doesn't sound right. Anyway. So, these next two matches are a little peculiar. Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Lex Luger.
Oh!
Yeah, which we watched.
Yes.
Now, before that, versus Yokozuna. Now, I presume that match would have been later on in the tour.
I'm assuming it was, because when we watched the video, it was Bobby Heenan interviewing Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji.
Right.
So, I distinctly remember a match with Hacksaw and Yokozuna, where Yokozuna did the bonsai drop a bunch of times,
Right.
having Hacksaw being stretchered out with the oxygen and whatever.
Right.
Whether it was this tour or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Hacksaw and Lex Luger. And you know, it's kind of silly when you look at these costumes. And I said to Kyle, and oh my god, it's Tinfoil Man.
Yeah.
But I think Lex Luger, yeah, that was basically his personality.
Yeah.
And, you know, right before the whole thing at the USS Intrepid, which would have been a few months later,
Yeah.
you know, it was like the narcissist coming in at the Royal Rumble debut,
Yeah.
you know, having his match with Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 9, and this match here was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of funny to have a British crowd chanting USA.
Oh yeah.
And then of course Bobby's like, well, what the hell? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was a good match too. And I mean, it would have been good if Mr. Perfect hadn't come out and caused the disqualification, beating up Lex Luger.
Yeah.
Yokozuna got involved, so yeah, it was a disqualification, but I mean, it was an okay match. I won't lie, I just hate when that happens, obviously.
Definitely interesting seeing Hacksaw wear the singlet.
Yeah. Well, he never wore it for very long.
No, he always wore the tights.
Like there was a occasion, and I'm thinking because they were in England, they had him wear the Stars and Stripes singlet.
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. But once again, talk about these two guys with their missed opportunity. You know, having the whole thing where you could have had Hacksaw Jim Duggan as a WWF champion or Lex Luger as a WWF champion. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that never happened, and it's a shame because I never understood why. I mean, yeah, Lex maybe, Jim Duggan, I don't see why he couldn't have been,
I guess, yeah.
but yeah, I got what we got for this show. I mean, I'm pretty sure the matches that we mentioned before, like Backlund and Demento, was pretty good.
Right.
Obviously, Doink and Kamala. I think Kamala that year had a very good feud with Undertaker.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes all the way back to SummerSlam '92.
Yeah.
But, you know, you look at the casket match, and then... Actually, no. Undertaker had that feud with John Gonzalez.
Foul!
But anyways... So, this has been another episode of Wheels of Fury.
Yes.
Apologies for, well, yeah, whatever. The fucking could have had more matches, but they've done worse before,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So, I mean, we did talk about some matches, or the matches that were there.
Yeah.
Obviously, it had Lord Alfred Hayes. You know, we mentioned the whole thing with Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
Kind of forget sometimes how annoying he was on commentary.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had good old JR.
Yes.
But, yeah, 1993 is picking up nicely.
Yes.
Trying to find footage, because next time we do this, hopefully, we will talk about WCW Beach Blast.
Yeah.
So, but until then, next week, we have NXT No Mercy.
And AEW's Wrestle
Wrestle
Dream.
Cram.
Wrestle Cramp. Wrestle Dream.
Yeah.
I tell you, the card for Wrestle Dream's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's in store for that.
Yes.
Also, in a few weeks, we have Bound for Glory.
Yes.
Not sure what else is happening,
Right.
but things are picking up. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, so anyways, you know, we'll try to do better next time. It's kind of funny when you try to do these shows and you can't find footage.
Yeah.
You have ideas swirling in your head. But we'll see what we can do for WCW.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what else I put up, but anyways, I mean Matt, Killer Kyle, and we will talk to you next time.
See ya.
Deuces.